Yo, what's up, lovers of the Squirrel? I told you I would be back with the showcase video for my Squirrel Commander deck, and here it is. It's about a power level 8. I know Chatterfang can go CEDH, however, I've made some sacrifices for flavor, and if you love squirrels as much as I do, I think you will agree with the choices I made. Starting with, of course, Chatterfang as the commander. This is the etched foil showcase one. And yeah, I didn't pull it, neither did any of my friends. I had to fork out hard-earned dollars for that because I don't buy sealed. I would have had to spend more in sealed to get that. And so I'm going to just start with the lands. The lands is the easy and the most boring, and these are this is the land base that would make most commander players puke because it is all random stuff, but it's lands I really like this old bordered one. This is a old bordered land I actually got off a guy at a bus stop that was trying to sell them at the local game store. These two, he was trying to sell them at the local game store and they wouldn't take them, and I was outside waiting at the bus and he came out and I was like, hey, would you sell me some of those lands? And he sold me these two for $5, which is Canadian, so like $2.50 each, which is a steal. So yeah, swamps, just random full arts. Codsy Danland, my favoriteest secret lair lands ever. I got both the swamp and the forest in here. Just, yeah, random full art lands. Here's the Codsy Dan forest, super nice. Took me a while to realize there's a little dude on there climbing the tree. I guess back there, wait. Yeah, there's a little dude sitting on the tree there, and it's raining. Anyway, some, yeah, full art stuff, and just forests, basic lands, swamps, and here's utility lands. Tranquil Thicket, Boseju, Three Tree City, Verdant Catacombs, Oak Hollow Village. Super like this, even though I almost never use the ability. Galaxy Foil Overgrown Tomb, super beautiful. Oran Reef, another card that I barely ever use, the second ability. Woodland Cemetery, Command Tower, Blooming Marsh, Swarm Yard, and Tainted Wood. I could probably have a slightly better mana base, but it's good the way it is. It's working for me. I don't have too much issues. For mana rocks, I just have Soul Ring and Arcane Signet, which is not a whole lot of mana rocks, but I don't typically have a lot of issues. I have generally low CMC in the deck, and yeah, I have some ramp spells and stuff. So 2 of those. I got Emerald Medallion to reduce the cost of green spells because most of the deck is green, so I don't have Jet Medallion. That's not even something I might keep forever, but the One Ring, of course, for awesome draw power, and Chitter Spitter for token generation and boosting Squirrel's powers. Slow, but steadily. Go to instants. We got Assassin's Trophy, great removal spell because it's any permanent. Second Harvest for doubling up any tokens on the field. Cash Grab, nice draw power, gives a food token like almost always, so it generates usually a squirrel as well as fetches a permanent. Verdant Command for the token generation. Life gain's pretty nice too, but it's mostly just in there to give me some token generation. I'm always needing tokens. Shared Summons, this is there to fetch like Mirkwood Bats and a Pitiless Plunder pretty much exclusively. Back to Nature. This was put in my deck to combat my buddy's Zur deck, and this is probably something I'm gonna pull because he's not running it anymore, and I play a lot of enchantments, so I like never want to play that card now. Sorceries, Natural Order. This card in my deck, it almost exclusively fetches Old Gnawbone. I sacrifice a squirrel token and fetch an Old Gnawbone every single time because it's pretty much one of my best. Actually, sometimes I get a deranged tournament, but for the most part, it fetches Old Gnawbone because I can't get Pitiless. Tempt with Discovery. I love this card, especially in my play group. We play these massive 6, sometimes 8 player pods, plane chase and stuff, and everybody gets a land. It gets any land, so it's a very tempting offer that a lot of people take. And if you're running green, you want to run Tempt with Discovery. It pretty much will always give you your 4 mana back, untapped, of any land type. It's just a staple. I'm surprised I don't see it more often. Feed the Swarm, good removal. Maelstrom Pulse, not great removal, but if you got somebody that runs goblins and you need to nuke all their tokens at once, that's what the doctor ordered. Diabolic Tutor, because I don't have a Vampiric Tutor in here, but I do have a Demonic Tutor. I do have a nice shiny Demonic Tutor. Those are my tutors. I had a Profane Tutor for a bit, but which I should replace this card with, because Audience with Trostani is not a great card. I put it in there for some extra draw power, but I'm generally always just drawing 2 cards, the one for the plant and one for a squirrel, and yeah, so it's in there for draw and token generation. I figured 2 birds with 1 stone, but it's not the greatest. Chatter the Squirrel, Secret Lair, awesome card, nice token generation. You got some Rampy Ramp. I think I got, this is the Rampy Ramp here. We got Rampant Growth, Cultivate, Kodama's Reach. Those 3 alone are part of the reason why I'm not running more rocks, and I don't really have too much issues with the mana. Season of Gathering is one that I want to get foiled because it can be foiled. I just haven't been lucky enough to get it yet. It doesn't pop up in my local stores, and I don't order online a ton. Swarmyard Massacre, one that doesn't come foil. Awesome one-sided board wipe for the deck because it creates squirrel tokens, 2 of them. You've got Chatterfang out, it creates 4, and it deals -/- equal to all the squirrels you have. And it, yeah, pretty much wipes everything on the board except for your squirrels. Usually, I mean, the occasional time somebody's got a spider or something weird, but for the most part. Damnation, nice black Wrath of God for some board wipe action. I just got the 2 board wipes in here. Going to Enchantments, which I run quite a few of, which is why I shouldn't run the Back to Nature, but Defense of the Heart, awesome. This is basically, if this pops, it's a win con for the deck because I'll go into Pitiless Plunder and Mirkwood Bats and end the game. This is like a poor man's Earthcraft. If you can't afford Earthcraft and you're running this deck, run this because it actually works almost as good. I can't say almost as good. It doesn't work almost as good, but it works pretty darn good for giving you mana of any color from your tokens, and when your commander dies, it also, since it technically goes to the graveyard before going out, it gives you the plant token. So when your commander dies, you get a mana back. So that's going to pay for one of the commander tax. It's good. Squirrel Nest for doing the infinite squirrel combo. Grave Pact, which is awesome. This card really just kind of helps control my opponent's board because Chatterfang can sacrifice pretty much on will, on command. And you, as a squirrel player, should have more tokens than your opponents have creatures. It's pretty easy to control your opponent's board if you've got this out and Chatterfang and some tokens. Because you can force them to sacrifice. They play something, you can even do it on their turn. It's some nasty, awesome stuff. Earthcraft, got to run the Earthcraft in the deck, of course, just for tons of mana. Even if you're not doing the Squirrel Nest combo, this card is just insane for how rapidly you can build, especially with the token deck, and you've got tons of creatures to tap, and it's just ridiculous. Every time I get that, it's, yeah, there's a high correlation between this and winning the game. Doubling Season, awesome, even though the 5 mana kind of sucks, but it's nice having doubling tokens. Lignify for controlling an opponent's commander, I quite like it. Somebody's playing something annoying like a Zur, you just slap that on them. Squirrel Sanctuary is objectively a bad card, but it generates tokens for 1 mana. It can be returned to your hand, and I need lots of tokens with this deck, so I run it. Parallel Lives, token doubling, awesomeness. All right, so now we'll get to the bulk of the deck, the creatures. The creatures is a mixed bag of squirrels and other stuff just to be more competitive, but yeah, so Osteomancer Adept, Death Touch, you can tap it and forage to cast spells from your graveyard, well, creature spells, but I almost never use that ability because I never seem to get it late game. Deep Forested Hermit, which is basically a deranged hermit, pretty close at least functionality-wise. Lord Skitter I run because it generates rat tokens every turn, removes cards from graveyards, and the token generation will of course cause squirrels to come out, which is like the fuel for the deck. Zulaport Cutthroat as a card for milling your opponent's life when you've got Pitiless out. Arasta the Endless Web, which never seems to give me spiders, but it's another token generator. Old Gnawbone. This card has pulled some weight for the deck, although every single time you play an Old Gnawbone, expect it to get annihilated almost instantly. It is extremely rare that I have this for full rotation. Generally, when I play Old Gnawbone, I have to be prepared for Old Gnawbone's not going to attack, but the creatures I have on the board will hopefully be able to give me some treasure tokens, because Old Gnawbone ain't going to make it around to my turn again. He pretty much never does. Ygritte Eater Evolve because I love Bloomburrow, and it gets big fast, especially if you get infinite mill, or infinite sack outlet, then you can make this thing just massive, even though it doesn't have trample. Arboreal Grazer for hopefully first turn plays where I can kind of ramp up. Hazel's Brewmaster has led to some absolutely crazy stuff in the deck because of the fact that you can exile up to one target card from a graveyard, create a food token, and it has all activated abilities. I've gotten some wild activated abilities on the food tokens, which can be tapped immediately, and it's led to like lots of infinite combos can be done with Hazel's Brewmaster. Valley Rock Caller, I've won a few games with this too, just attacking and dealing enough damage that you just like have a bunch of squirrels attack, then they take a bunch of life, and you gain that much life. So it's awesome, especially if you go infinite squirrels. Ravenous Squirrel, another one, if you go infinite squirrels, you can make it infinitely big. Draykeeper, a really, really crappy version of the, what the heck was it? The Deep Forested Hermit, and yeah, it's not good, but sometimes I use the ability of getting +1. Deathrite Shaman, good for getting some early mana ramp because it can RFG cards from the graveyard, and it's a 1 mana drop. Pitiless Plunderer, the absolute MVP of the deck. If you're not familiar with the Pitiless Plunderer combo, basically Chatterfang will tap a black mana to sacrifice a squirrel. That squirrel can even be sacked to target itself, to kill itself, so you don't have to target any other creatures. And when that creature dies, Pitiless Plunderer sees it dying and creates a treasure token, which generates a squirrel. So you can create an infinite loop of sacking those treasure tokens to infinitely minus. So it gets around indestructible, it gets around, yeah, just big creatures. Obviously not Shroud or anything, but it's often a win condition in the deck. Squirrel Mob, just for flavor, and sometimes he gets big, and he looks so cool. Mirkwood Bats as one of, like, you know, the main win cons for pinging. Ashnod, this card I got for $1 because it's awesome. I don't know, I ran it on Arena and I really liked it. When you attack, you can sacrifice a squirrel, or well, a creature, which is always a squirrel token, and then I create a Power Stone token, which, yeah, it can be used only to create cast artifact spells, or I found that it does pay for some abilities too. Like you can pay for this ability with those Power Stones, but of course it takes a while to get 5. But yeah, and the squirrel you sack comes back, and it's a 1 mana, 1/1 death touch, and it's probably something I could pull. But Prosperous Innkeeper gives you tons of life, especially if you go infinite with Pitiless, then you get infinite life too. And yeah, just a good drop for early ramp. Toski, card drawing, Essica's Chariot I put in creatures even though it's an artifact, but it's in there for token generation, and yeah, it's not the best card. But Foily Deranged Hermit, this is actually, I only own one of these. I am not that ballin'. The Earthcraft, I do have one in here. I do hate switching cards as much as possible, but obviously I don't have the deep enough wallet to own 2 of these, and I'm not going to put an on-foil in because, yeah, that's not how I roll. Gotta keep it shiny. So this card mainly lives in this deck. I hardly ever play the 60 card because if I'm playing 60 card, I have to play stuff like a little bit more powerful, and yeah, so it's mostly in this deck all the time. Nested Shambler. This is one of the oldest cards I got for this deck, and it's just never gotten pulled. I don't know why. It just a 1 mana 1/1 drop that when it dies it creates a squirrel. This card has pulled some weight though. Honored Dray Leader gets big very, very quickly, and the fact it actually has trample, this thing can do some damage. It's yeah, every time a squirrel enters or a food, it gets +1/+1, and it gets it retroactively too. So if you play it and there's stuff on the field, you're gonna get it for that and all the ones coming out after it comes out too. So it's awesome. It gets super big. Sheoldred, it doesn't need a Sheoldred, but it's a really cool foil pre-release one that I got off my buddy, and of course I'm gonna run it because I can run black, and I don't know, it doesn't combo with anything, but it's awesome. Squirrel Sovereign, you know, nice lord in the theme. Gala Greeters, this card is obviously way better than Prosperous Innkeeper for this deck, because when you play anything like a creature, you'll create the treasure token, which creates a squirrel, which then now goes back to this, and it can create either 1/1 or gain 2 life. So almost any creature drop will trigger this twice when you have Chatterfang out, and it's really easy to get all 3 triggers every single turn. Gilded Goose, early ramp, token generation. Camilla the Seed Miser. This card my buddy actually pulled. He bought a bunch of Bloomburrow collector boosters because he spends a lot of money on sealed, and he got this, the Liliana, and he got the bird. I got another one too. But yeah, so this one I managed to buy off him. I should have bought the Liliana. I was really dumb at the time and I didn't realize that Liliana was a squirrel and I didn't buy it off of him, and he sold it and it's gone. And yeah, they're never in stock. So Natty's Nightblade, another outlet for the Pitiless combo. Thornvault Forager, I really like this. It's a nice mana dork. I was running the Poison Dart Frog forever, and this actually replaced the Poison Dart Frog for theme, and it's a mana dork, and it fetches a squirrel from your library, so I can grab up a Toski or Camilla or some other piece. And then Hazel of the Root Bloom, the commander from the commander decks that came out. Awesome for getting some extra tokens at the end of your turn, and obviously mana ramp. And then Blood Artist, because you can't have any shortage of outlets for Pitiless when Pitiless wins most of your games. But yeah, that's my commander deck. It's always changing. This deck is like, yeah, I don't know, I'm always kind of changing stuff around a little bit, prioritizing by foils, of course. At this point, I don't want to really add non-foils, but yeah, that's the deck. If you liked it, let me know in the comments below. If you think some of the cards sucked, yeah, I know some of them suck, but if you see anything that's obviously missing from it and you run Chatterfang yourself, let me know and I'll consider throwing it in. Thanks. Bye. Oh, also, if you're watching this to this point, I don't really do much YouTube stuff, but I am debating making another channel. I've tried YouTube twice and failed both times. I'm a crappy editor and stuff, but I've played Magic for a long time, over 20 years, and I'm quite passionate. I got a big group of friends that also play, and we've talked about doing some videos and stuff before. So instead of just having these random videos where I just show these decks, we're thinking about doing an actual channel where a few of us kind of showcase decks and do some gaming. So if you would like to see that, let me know in the comments below. I was actually surprised on the last video how many random people actually commented, which was like 3 or 4, but coming from somebody who's tried YouTube before, that's quite a lot. Like, I don't know, for at least like a first video on a topic. So yeah, hope to see some of you guys again, and thanks for watching. Bye.